Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Welcome to this week's reading wrap-up, which I had a wonderful week, and not necessarily because of quantity, because I read about the same as last week. I read 10 books this week. However, the quality of the books went up quite a bit over the last week, and so that made me really excited because I was just enjoying my time off, reading some absolutely fabulous books, most of them being historical romance because I have been down a historical romance rabbit hole, which is good because over 50% of the books that I physically own are historical romance. I don't know if you've seen my rainbow shelf, but that has hundreds of them on it, and I've just been like collecting them because they're pretty and not reading them, and so going down a historical romance rabbit hole is a very, very good thing for me. And they're just a really great palate cleanser, and there's just something about them that, I mean, though I read some of them that are darker, and we are going to talk about a couple darker historicals because I love that as well, there's still something about it that in general keeps my spirits lifted because there's just a little bit more fantasy that goes into a historical romance. So let's go ahead and dive into the things that I read. The first one was actually an e-arc by Tiffany Riesz. This is the first Tiffany Riesz that I read. It's called The Pearl. I grabbed this one, of course, off of NetGalley, where I get most of my arcs from. And this one was a older woman, younger man, BDSM. This is actually the third in a series, but the series is more like, it says it's a family, but it's very like individual stories from what I've read, because there wasn't anything I felt like I was missing out on in this at all, which sometimes happens to me when I get an arc without realizing that it's part of a series, and sometimes it bites me in the tuchus because I pick up an arc and then I either have to read those other books in that series, or I feel like I don't give that book its due, right? So this one is about this young man. He's 21 years old, and his brother gets him into a lot of debt to this woman who like runs a hotel, and I think there's some gambling that happens there too. Either way, she owes him him and his brother owe her a lot of money, and she had taken a painting of their families as payment. And so the older brother, Arthur, goes to her and asks that he find a different way to pay the debt, and so we make a sex deal. And it's to be her submissive, and she asks for 7 days, not consecutive days, but 7 encounters with him where she gets to do what she wants to him. And it ends up being that they act out a different like scene from a painting that she owns, or a famous painting, which is really kind of interesting. This book is told in kind of 3 parts. The first part mainly focuses on Arthur. The second part mainly focuses on the woman, which I can't remember her name right now. And then the third part, which is a lot shorter, is about both of them. I really like this. I like an older woman, younger male. I also like when the woman is more dominant. There is a really, really cool scene in this that actually has to do with pearls that I was not expecting, and I really, really liked it. So, yeah, I ended up giving this a 4-star. I didn't connect with the characters as much as I wanted to, so it was hot, but it was missing the emotional piece that would have bumped it up to a 5-star for me, but I really liked it. Then I was continuing with the Rule of Scoundrels series, and so I read One Good Earl Deserves a Lover by Sarah MacLean. This one is about Pippa. This one's about Pippa and Cross. And Pippa, this is the one that at the beginning of this, Pippa goes to the Angel, which is the club, the fighting club, not the fighting club. There is fighting that happens in the club, but the gambling den where these 4 disgraced aristocrats run it. And she asks him to ruin her and to teach her about what sexual things are, because she's about to get married to someone. He's a very nice man, by the way. He's a very nice guy. But she doesn't know anything about sex, and she would like to know more, and no one will tell her anything about it. So she comes to the Angel to ask Cross to teach her. And, you know, he agrees to teach her, and there is, like, some deals that they make as well, having to do with, like, what he's going to teach her, and he, like, teaches her about, like, I don't want to tell you all the things he's teaching her, but it was really great. This was only my second MacLean novel. Like, this series was the first one that I've really stuck with. I listened to this on audio. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 star, and you'll see a pattern with Sarah MacLean novels for me. For someone who, and this might be my own fault just because I expect so much from her because I love this woman. Like, I love Sarah MacLean. I'm a big fan of the Fated Mates podcast. I watch all the interviews with her that I can. I was expecting more sex in this book. I'm sorry, I said it. It's a thing. There was such a heat and buildup between these two, and then I just didn't get enough of what I wanted. So the story was fabulous. There was still a good steam between the two characters, but it wasn't enough for me. And so I know that in future series of hers, I may get more of what I want. But in this one, there was such good build up with these people, and then there just wasn't a good enough payoff. And that, you're going to see that is a pattern for a lot of the historicals that I read this week, even though I loved them. And I think that my complaint is maybe a little bit more persnickety than some other people will be, so take that as a thing. The plot of this series is fantastic. It has a good through plot, as well as each book itself has a really good plot. The characters are just so alive and vibrant. I expect a lot of my historical romance novels for them to get a 5 star, more so than I expect of a contemporary novel. I just have high standards because I love this genre and this some job romance more than anything else. But this, it's great. It's great. It just wasn't everything that I needed. Then I finished reading An Offer from a Gentleman. My vlog for this book is already up. I was not a huge fan. This book went down from a 4 star the last time I read it to a 3 star this time. I knew it was going to go down in my eyes because each time I've read this book, this used to be one of my favorite in the series when I was young, like my first couple of read-throughs of this series, because this starts as a Cinderella retelling. This couple is so romantic and they have a star-crossed lover vibe going on, and then Benedict just ruins it for me. I despise the mistress trope. I've shared this with I know a lot of my historical romance friends feel the same way as me, and the way that but I've seen it carried out well, right? Like, any trope I dislike, it can be done well and win you over, right? That's how I feel about things. There was just something about the way that Benedict went about this, that when he didn't get his way, he got very cruel and very mean. He said very hurtful things to Sophie, and then he did not have to grovel enough for me. So the reason this even got a 3 star is because Sophie Beckett is one of my favorite heroines in the series, but Benedict is hands down my least favorite hero in the series. And I haven't even reread the other 5 of them, but Colin isn't going to be my least favorite, and I know that I love Sir Philip and Michael and Gareth and Gregory. Like, I know they're all going to be more than how I feel about Benedict, which makes me sad, but someone has to be my least favorite. And my sister, it was funny, she's like, I feel like you're disliking these books when you read them, and that is not true, except for this one. Didn't like this one. I just, this time around, am looking at them with a more critical eye because I am critiquing them. Usually I don't critique books. I am just like, did I like it or did I not? And then what are the things I love about it so that I can brag about it to people? Because we're doing such a deep dive into this series this year, I'm just really trying to pick up on those things. And this one is just not, it just wasn't what I was wanting it to be. So there's that. Then I finished Left for Wild by Harloe Ray. This one, I know that I did recommend this in my forced proximity recommendations, and I already had someone say, she's like, so this started out really promising and then it got boring, and that's exactly how I felt. I put it in that rec video because the first half of the book, it is a snowed-in forced proximity left for the wild situation. This is about an ex-convict who was wrongfully accused, and this woman who kind of works with convicts, and she has kind of fallen for him and he's fallen for her during their interactions that they had at the prison. And now he's been released and she's supposed to work with his work release program. Well, some people who want to hurt him got the heads up that he was getting released. And so they kidnap him and this woman because they want to punish him by kidnapping someone that he likes. And they dump them in the Canadian wilderness. And they have to survive together until they can make it back. So the first half of this book, when they were in the wilderness, was great because I love survival stuff. I love that they already had some unrequited love. But two things. One, it was cheesy as hell, just how the dialogue was written. It was syrupy sweet. These people had like no conflict personally between them. It was just them vomiting how much they liked each other back to each other. So then the only conflict was like external conflict. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, I want there to be more. I want there to be more going on than that. And there just wasn't. So I ended up with a 3-star for this one as well because it had a very strong beginning. And then the plot at the end that carries through the last 20% of this book was not what I wanted it to be at all. And so I was kind of like hate finishing it. So I did still give it a 3-star. But it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. Then I started a new series and a new author to me, and that is Vanessa Kelly. And I read The Highlander Who Protected Me. This is the first book in her is it the Kerrigan brothers? Kendrick. It's the Clan Kendrick series. So a couple things I found out. I bought a bunch of Vanessa Kelly books because they were beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. Like, here's one of the other ones I'm planning to read in December because it's a Christmas one. Their covers are absolutely beautiful. She also has a like royal series that are about the bastard children of the Prince Regent. So they're princes and princesses, and I am so excited to read those books. But they do all like lead into each other, and I didn't know that. It did not lessen the enjoyment of this book at all. I'm going to talk about it in a sec. But I want to go back and start with the Improper Princesses series, as well as she has like a Royal Renegade series that I ordered them all from thrift books, because one of them's called Secrets for Seducing a Royal Bodyguard. How cool does that sound? So anyway, I am so excited to read more Vanessa Kelly because I'll tell you, the plot of this book was so fascinating, okay? So this book is about Lady Ainsley Matthews, and she is supposed to marry this one douche, like just this jerk. And the same party where she's supposed to get engaged to him, she meets Royal Kendrick. And he is from a Highland clan, and he happens to be at this party, and they go for this walk, and they're both kind of like, she's this really hard to get along with person. Okay, she's really prickly, and she says what she means, and she's a little bit offensive with how she talks. She's just not the nicest woman, okay? But the great part is, number one, she's very self-aware of that. She's like, I am not the easiest person to be a friend with. And he's just head over heels for her. This Scottish dude is so in head over heels for her. Well, they go on this walk together, and her soon-to-be fiance catches them and kind of like embarrasses her and like claims her in front of this guy. And so then Royal is like, oh wow, you were flirting with me and you're gonna marry this guy, how rude, when really she isn't engaged to this guy yet and she really doesn't like him. And then to have him, you know, embarrass her, it was bad. Well, that's the prologue of this book. The setup of the book, which this is on the back of the book, so I know this will seem like a spoiler to you, but this is the back of the book, okay, is we run into them 2 years later, or maybe not even 2 years, it's 18 months later. It's 18 months later, and she is actually part Scottish too. And so she is staying at a place not that far from his, because he's home with his family at Clan Kendrick land, and she's staying with her great aunt at their family home, and she's been staying there for months and hasn't come to visit them, but she's been writing letters back and forth to him. And so his brother and sister-in-law, which I can tell that there was another book about them, which is, like I said, I want to read that other series, encourages him to go say hello to her because she must be lonely, and she's being punished because she broke her engagement, because she ended up getting engaged to that guy, and then she broke the engagement, and she's being punished and hidden out in the wilderness. And he goes to visit her, and she is 9 months pregnant. And it turns out that she was raped by her fiance because he thought that she already belonged to him. And she did not want this man to be her husband or the father of her child. So she broke the engagement and was banished here. So she's just about to have this baby, and she doesn't want anyone to know that it's hers, because otherwise this man will have control of her forever. Okay? So what happens, and again, this is the beginning of the book, Royal adopts her baby girl, and Clan Kendrick takes this baby into their life. He pretends that it's his bastard daughter that he had with a maid. And so he and his clan takes on the shame of having a bastard child so that this girl can be loved and kept away from this man. But Ainsley, Lady Ainsley, she needs to go back to society to prove that nothing's wrong. So she has to leave her daughter, and it's best for all if she never comes back. Because if she comes back, it might be, people might put the dots together. So he's called the Highlander Who Protected Her because he just is the nicest guy. He is such a wonderful man. I can't even. And so obviously that's the setup of this story. And then we get to see what happens, the fallout of her giving up her child, and what happens when down the road she is still unsatisfied with her life in the city. So a lot of people's criticisms of this book that I've seen, again, there's not a ton of ratings for this book because I feel like Vanessa Kelly isn't like super well known. I'd never heard of her before I saw these beautiful covers. Is that Ainsley is selfish and rude, and that she would rather give up her baby than have her reputation ruined. But two things. One, Ainsley fully owns that she's being selfish in a way. But number two, she would have no power if anyone knew that this baby was hers. She would be forced to marry this guy. That man could legally come and take her baby away, could take it from Royal, could take it from her. So her only course of action is to act like nothing happened. And she is, in the beginning, just a little bit overwhelmed with it all and is like, maybe this is best. How am I going to be a good mother? All these things. And the family that adopts this baby, Royal's whole family, just loves this little girl, and to get to see how it all plays out. I read this in one sitting. I know that's not a surprise. I read lots of books in one sitting, but with not getting up for 4 hours, I read this book. I read every page. It's a pretty big historical too, and I was entranced with it. It's a pretty slow burn, but it's also a pining hero. Like Royal, he takes on this baby, but also he loves Ainsley, and he has become her friend, so it's like friends to lovers. It's almost like a single dad romance, even though it's her baby that he's the single dad. There's so many great things about this book. I'm planning to read so many more of her books. You have no idea. I'm so excited. I've ordered the ones that I don't have, and I can't wait. So, loved it. Then I read Blue-Eyed Devil by Lisa Kleypas. This is book 2 in the, I forgot what the series is. The Travis. I had heard about this book on the Smart Women Read Romance podcast a while back, and I owned it, and I was just in the mood to switch to a contemporary, but I wanted a Lisa Kleypas. And so this was great. Trigger warnings, hardcore for domestic abuse and spousal assault. But this one is great. This is a bad boy romance. This girl, she defies her family to marry who she thinks is the love of her life, and it becomes clear that he only wanted her for her money. And when her family cuts her off, he becomes a mean and abusive and manipulative man. He tries to force her to have children with him. So just know about those trigger warnings. But this is also very interesting because it's a first-person book, and I've never read a Lisa Kleypas that's first-person because I've only read her historicals, and it was really, really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. The hero was really hot. Something that I love in books is, obviously I don't love when a heroine is assaulted, but I love when a hero is working with a heroine to help her overcome any sexual fears that she has. It is one of my favorite things when you have this very sexual alpha male who tries to do whatever he can to be patient and loving and kind to a woman. It just gets me all excited. So this was really good. I don't know when or if I'll read the other ones in the series. I mostly read this because I loved hearing Juliet and Jessen talk about it. There's lots of books that I read because I enjoy hearing them talk about it, and it was a good little respite to read. because then I went on to No Good Duke Goes Unpunished, book 3 in the Rules of the Scoundrels. So this one, again, amazing plot. Sarah has such good plots. Oh, so this one is about the Killer Duke, who we've met. This is Temple, and Temple is the fighter for the Angel. If people want to try to pay off their debts, they can try to bet it all on a fight with Temple and try to defeat him. Nobody's ever defeated him before, but Temple is called the Killer Duke because he's been accused of killing Mara Lowe. Because Mara Lowe, when she was 16 and when he was 18, she was supposed to marry his dad. And on the weekend of the wedding, her and him had a tryst together, and he woke up in a bloody bed and her body wasn't there. And so he has been accused of being the Killer Duke for all this time because they couldn't prove he did it because her body wasn't there. And back then they couldn't do that. And he was the son of a duke. So he kind of lived in exile for a while until his father died, and then he became the Duke and came back, and he started the Angel with the other 3 people. And now Mara has come back because she needs money for something, for a thing, and she comes back to help him claim his innocence by proving that she's not dead so that he can have his name back. And also it's going to shame her, but he's going to pay for it, basically. She's like, I will do this if you pay me this amount of money because I need it for reasons. So, there's reasons. So, anyway, it was fantastic. This plot is amazing. I gave this 4.5 stars as well, just because, again, kind of the same problem as the last one. There just wasn't quite enough for me. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. But we do get to a 5-star. I'll show you what a 5-star looks like in just a minute. But I really, really like this. The series is great. Obviously, it's been... The first one I gave a 4-star, and they've been 4.5, 4.5. And then, the next book I read was Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover. And this is book 4. This book is about Chase and Lady Georgiana, who are the same person. So there's a woman undercover. And if you have read any of the books in the series, you'll know who Chase is. Sorry if that's kind of a spoiler for you, but these books have been out for a while. And also she's on the cover of the book, so I don't feel too bad. The plot of this book, amazing. The steam in this book, amazing. The complexity of the situations our characters are in, amazing. The sass and the banter and the delicious aching longing between West and Georgiana, 5 stars. I loved this. I understand why this book was such a big deal. I remember hearing it talked about when it came out, but I hadn't read any Sarah MacLean. I didn't know who Sarah MacLean was, but I remember how big a deal this book was. And knowing what the secret is, knowing that this is a woman, I tried to pick up on things as I was reading. Because I was like, oh yeah, this is the one where it's a woman. I didn't pick up on the things. I didn't pick up on any of the identities that this woman has. But I loved it. And I had such a great time reading this book. I loved West. West was so sexy. He was probably my favorite hero in the series. I really, really liked it. And I can't wait to read more. I plan to read maybe some of her backlist ones and maybe the Wallflowers, because in February there is a plan that is maybe brewing to read the Scandal and Scoundrels, but I will keep that to myself because no spoilers for that. But this 2021 will be the year I read the rest of Sarah MacLean. I love her, and I can't wait. But this was great. 5 stars. Then more historical. So I got to read, I'm so happy about this. I got to read 2 arcs for Kerrigan Byrne. I am so happy. So about a month ago, I was finally brave enough and I wrote a few query letters to some publishers asking for my favorite books. And one of them I asked for was to get the arc for A Devil in Her Bed by Kerrigan Byrne. This will be the third and last book in the Devil You Know series. And this one is about Francesca. And I don't even want to tell you who the hero is. But it's about someone came the devil of, is it the Devil of Devlin? I can't remember. But, all right. What's the setup? What do we know that I can say? Because this doesn't come out till March, so I don't want to spoil it the way I would talking about one of these that's been out for a long time. If you love Kerrigan Byrne, you're going to love this book. There is still a through line like there was from the All Scott and Bothered. There is a carryover to do with the society that Ramsey is trying to take down. So we get to see a lot of Ramsey in this book, which was great, because Francesca, she's trying to do what she can do, because the Crimson Council, I think is their name, they are responsible for the death of her family. So Francesca is the one who she watched her entire family be murdered, and she ran away. And so she's supposed to be supposedly a countess. But if you read the other two books, you know that Francesca is actually a girl named Pippa, who was the daughter of some servants of the Montclair, I think it's the Montclair family. And her friend died in her arms when this society came through and killed everyone and burned down the house. And so Pippa took Francesca's name, not because she was trying to, I can be a countess now, but for two reasons. One, it was suspected that the next person in line in the family was responsible, and if she had just been dead, that man would be able to take over, which was part of the reason why back in the first book, she was trying to marry the man that she was, because she was like, this will give me more security if I'm married. But of course, her best friend ended up marrying that guy, all to our happiness. But this woman is amazing. She does so much. I don't want to spoil anything else. I'm just telling you that is the history of Francesca as I knew it before the beginning of this book. And it is everything you'd expect. The prologue hurts your heart just as much as you'd expect. You live through everything that happens. And our hero, who you will meet, he has a direct link to all of that. And he is a spy who works for the Secret Service. And he has many identities. And that's all that I will say about that. Because the one thing I'll say is that there's a person we meet in All Scott and Bothered just for a quick cameo. And I was like, I wonder if that's the guy that Francesca will end up with. And I was right, but I was wrong. So that's all that I'll say. This was 5 out of 5 stars. In fact, if I was starting my 6th star situations, I would give this one a 6th star. I knew I was in for a ride. I knew I was going to love it. And it was all of that and more. It was everything that I wanted. And I was crying. I was finishing this book at my sister's house over the break. And I'm lying on the couch and I just started crying. And so my niece comes up. My niece is the loveliest lover you'll ever meet. And she doesn't say anything. She just starts petting my arm. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm not crying over the book or anything. I'm fine. So it was great. And then, I croaked a little bit. I got even luckier because Kerrigan also has a self-published series she's putting out, which is a spin-off from the Victorian Rebels. So it's actually a sequel to A Dark and Stormy Night. It was a sequel to this. So A Dark and Stormy Night also has an alternative cover that's called Seducing a Stranger. And it is the first book in the Good Girls series. Which Good, G-O-D-D-E, which is about the Good sisters. And so, where's her name? Prudence Good married Morley in this one. And then in the next book, It's called Courting Trouble, and it actually comes out on December 8th. This was great. I actually had pre-ordered it already because I wanted a copy of it, and then it was up on NetGalley, and I was like, ooh, maybe I can get it a couple days early, and I did. I got approved to read that one, which felt really good. And the bummer about this series is they're a lot shorter. Like, this one was 270. Courting Trouble is only 220 pages, so it's even shorter. But there's some events that happen at the end of A Dark and Stormy Night / Seducing a Stranger that leaves one of Prudence's sisters, which is Honoria, who goes by Nora, in a pretty dangerous situation, one where they need the help of a doctor. And this doctor's name is Titus. And Titus has a history with Honoria, and that's all that I will say, because I really like this book. I did only give it a 4-star, and part of that for me just has to do with the length of the novel, but this one, and also because this one definitely has a before and after, because when we meet Honoria in Prudence's book, she's actually married to someone, and so she has a husband in that book. And then in this book, there's no cheating in this book. If you've read the other book, you'll know what I mean about why. But we see Titus and Honoria when they are young people, and it was amazing. It hurt so bad in the way that Kerrigan Byrne makes you hurt, and I just devoured it, and I wanted more. And now the only place I have to go for Kerrigan Byrne is to her backlist. So I'm planning to read the Highland Magic, I think it's called. I ordered, the entire series is like on Kindle Unlimited, and so I bought the pack of it. I got the pack of it on that. So I'm planning to read that maybe in December. It's like 800 pages, and there's like 8 stories in there or something. So I'm excited about it. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. That is everything that I read in this week. I'm really happy about it. This is almost my wrap up of the month too. The next video you see from me should be that, because the readathon starts tomorrow or today that you're watching this. And so I'll probably include those books in my December everything, just because, yeah. So I'll have my November wrap up go up probably sometime during the readathon. Planning to vlog the readathon. I won't be putting up daily vlogs, but I am going to vlog it daily and maybe do like 2 or 3 vlogs during that time. Because I also have my Bridgerton vlog going on at the same time, so there's just a lot going on. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. It just depends how it goes. Make sure you check out channel memberships if you'd like to hang out more with me and get extra perks, including getting to see videos early, having monthly hangouts with me, and things like that. And as always, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel for more content anytime. Have a great day. Bye.